This weekend, Andy is playing Hold'em, Ryan is playing Root Beer Tapper, and we both go it alone with our Game Boys. I'm Ryan,
I'm Andy.
and this is Weekend Rental, episode 192. All right, welcome back, everyone, as we are rapidly approaching the holiday season. We just got through, the kickoff to Christmas, late this year, the American holiday, Thanksgiving. If you're Canadian, that's old news. It happened in October. Not American or Canadian, you probably don't give a shit, and that's fine too. But the rest of us, we ate turkey and dealt with our extended family over the last week. How did that go for you, Andy?
It was pretty good. I did have to eat turkey. So,
Which
I mean,
you're welcome.
it wasn't.
Congrats on being an American.
It was pretty good turkey, though. So
Nice.
saying that I didn't cook it.
You've been
probably
protesting.
usually-
You had family members bring it, smoke it.
Yeah, well, yeah, my mother-in-law made it, and
Nice.
yeah, turned out pretty good. Pretty small Thanksgiving this year because it just works out that way with
Yeah.
family switching off every different way, but yeah, this year's crazy for how close it is to Christmas.
Yeah, it was like 2 days, 3 days. No, yeah, 3 days before the end of Thanksgiving or November. I mean,
Yep.
which is there's usually like a good week to 10 days in between.
Yep.
It
How was yours?
was good. I had a little bit of a food renaissance at mine too because I was talking to my wife, and then my mother-in-law always does like the pies and everything. And last year she decided to get fancy with the apple pie, and did it all like cookie cutter, like leaf shapes on top, added a bunch of that like
Mm.
allspice nutmeg, which just ruins. Like apple pie to me is apple, sugar, cinnamon. That's it, right? You get nutmeg and allspice in there, it just ruins it. So I asked her, I was like, can you ask your mom not like, can we do traditional apple pie? She's like, oh, well, my mom said she can't make apple pie. That's not runny, so she's not going to do it. And I was like, my entire life, or at least my entire life with you, your mom's been making apple pie. I was like, this is Thanksgiving. Like, you have pumpkin pie, you have apple pie. What are we going to cut out turkey next year? I'm like, bullshit. So, so I kind of like being me, I got way too into this idea. This is all my fault. And I told my wife, I was like, no, you need to make apple pie. Like, I'm expecting apple pie. Like, I'll have a sliver of pumpkin to be courteous, like I always will, but I need apple pie. It's Thanksgiving. This is America, right? She's like, I can't do it. Like, I don't want to risk pissing my mom off. And I was like, fuck it. I'm making an apple pie. I'm like, I'm doing it. So like 2 days before Thanksgiving, I was like, you go to the store, you buy me a pie crust. Like, I'm coming home on my lunch break tomorrow and I'm making an apple pie. Made an apple pie. It's fucking delicious. Telling you what. Nailed it. My mother-in-law even took a slice home for the after dinner, like leftovers. So yeah.
The precedent has been set now, though. So
That's
you're
okay.
aware.
Like, if I have to make it to get my apple pie, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was just like, this will not stand. Like, I'm not going to be Andy and say turkey isn't allowed at Thanksgiving next year. Like, we're going for the apple pie. So yeah, it would. Other than that, totally fine. We just stayed in town. My wife's whole family is in town, so they all showed up. They invite my parents every year, and if weather permitting, they make it, which they did. So yeah, low key, fun. I can't complain, I guess.
Yep.
And I got my apple pie, obviously. Turns out I can make a good apple pie.
I did some baking that I'm usually not doing. My family does Christmas cookie baking usually the next Saturday after.
Makes sense.
And the crew was a lot less this year, so I had to pick up some slack. I did not do any of the baking, but some of the surrounding things that had to happen. So,
Use some
it's
cleanup,
first time for everything.
hand washing, ingredient getting.
Yep. Went to the store, got ingredients,
Nice.
move cookies around, that type of thing. Yeah.
For every grocery run is like a liquor store run. So you're like, butter for you, 6-pack for me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was kind of freeing in the way that you get to cut out the fat of the cookies that you don't like, because there are some that were just I feel like were just legacy cookies at this point.
Yeah. I feel like that's 90% of Christmas, if I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it would be like if you're still making fruitcakes and stuff like that, you know? It's just
Yes.
like, well, we can stop doing that now.
So nobody was making, like, date-filled cookies, were they?
No,
Okay.
no, but there
Yeah.
are like just like globs of things that just don't taste like anything. And it's like, what are we even doing here? You know? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's our Scandinavian roots is, like, there's a smidgen of sugar and it's edible, so
Yeah.
let's celebrate, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, as much I love the shit out of lefse, but, like, let's not, lefse needs sugar and butter, so,
Yeah. Imagine eating that just plain. It's just no.
yeah. I always imagine, like, Scandinavians, like, in the harsh winter, like, it's that whole, Lord of the Rings with, like, the elven bread. They're like, "Oh, it'll fill a man's stomach," and it's just like, "Nah, like, you can dream, but, it's just potato and flour." So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, I'm glad you had a good holiday. It's always, fun to have one that's, like, not so chaotic too. Did you guys do any of the Black Friday shopping online or after? Or you guys are a little further away from, like, stores than we are, but
Yeah. We didn't go into stores, which is becoming less and less of a thing, feels like. Especially when they start, basically
2 weeks
everything the week
before?
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um I should have went to Fleet Farm because I also get 20% off
Oh,
on top of all that. But
yep.
usually that stuff is gone if you're not there at 5 in the morning anyway.
Yeah, because they give out the plushies. People are nuts about the plushie.
Yeah. Yep.
I wanna be the first 500 people to get, like, this 10-cent plushie from China.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
It says Fleet Farm 2024 on it.
Yeah, I mean, if the numbers aren't sequential in your collection,
Hey,
problem.
you done fucked up.
Yeah. They used to do, like, Ertl cars every year,
Yeah.
and, my mom went all in on those. I don't know if she does them anymore or if they stopped doing them, but that was a long running thing too. But yeah, I made one big purchase, but I guess I let you talk about.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on the agenda. I was curious because I saw something as I walked through a store and almost made a similar purchase. But
Yeah.
yeah, same as you. Like, I just looked for like online stuff. I'll start out with like the best part where like I'd placed an Amazon order because like they had the Fire Stick 4K for like 21 bucks. I was like, all right, that's the one that does like Xbox. Like, I'll see how Xbox Cloud on a Fire Stick is in another room in my house. So I bought that. I bought an AirTag because we want to track my son who doesn't have a cell phone yet. An AirTag case, and like my wife wanted some like peanut butter protein powder, right? So I placed this order. I don't know. It's like 70 bucks is what it comes out to with taxes and everything. Uh get the notice on Saturday that this thing's been delivered. Get the photo confirmation. You only take the picture at your doorstep because they're creeps. Which they never ring the Blink doorbell, which I find hilarious because it's an Amazon product and it's the purpose it's supposed to serve. They don't do it. So anyway, I see that at like 7 o'clock at night. I was like, oh, we got the order. So I reach out, grab it, pull it in the house, rip it open. There's a mug inside, like a decorative, like personalized mug thing, like in a box. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't order this. Who's this for? My wife's like, what's the name on it? I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll look. It's my neighbor. It's my neighbor across the street. The address is clearly wrong. So clearly the dipshit Amazon driver like grabbed both our packages and like screwed mine up, right? So then I'm like, okay, what's the repercussion for this? So you get the email confirmation. You can click were you satisfied, not satisfied. And then if you click not satisfied, you can say like I didn't get my items. But there's not really an option with Amazon to say like, no, you gave me the complete wrong package. So after like dicking around forever, I found a number to call them. Spent 30 to 40 minutes on the phone, got through the automated prompt, talked to some dude with India. He assured me that he went above and beyond to upheave his day to make sure that I was satisfied with the refund I was getting for the package that I did not get, which I know is a lie, but I still appreciate his effort to give me a refund nonetheless. And I was like, all right, well, that's done. And in the meantime, I had like brought the package over to my neighbor and then realized I was completely screwed because without photo and physical evidence of this, they had no recourse to refund me. So like a cat prowler, I like struck across the street again, stole my package back. It's not my package, and I did deliver to the right person. And then I sat on it overnight because after I got off the phone with this guy, I was like, "What do you want me to do with this? Like, do I send this back to you?" He's like, "Oh, you can throw it away. You can keep it. You can." What like none of the options are like give it to the person who it's owed, right? Because obviously they can't tell you to like go to a neighbor's house, get shot in the face because you came up to their house with a pet. Anyway,
Hmm.
so I wait until like the next day at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I go over there, knock on the door. Someone answers this time. They didn't answer the night before. And this lady looks like super confused, which I get. And I'm like, yeah, I live over there. Like, this came to me with a picture, but it's your shit. And she's like, oh, were you expecting a package? I'm like, yeah. So she's like, well, I got a box. I haven't opened it. And she like looks down, grabs it, hands it to me. Sure enough, it's my box. So at least for all my trouble, I got a $70 refund and I got my shit anyway. So that worked out.
And you
That was
didn't get
probably the,
shot.
yeah, exactly. That was probably the most eventful part. I've been waiting, by the way, to hook up the 4K Fire Stick because I know I'm gonna have to enter my Amazon credentials, and they're probably gonna be wondering like, why didn't this dude reorder it? Um, so I figured if I wait until the Black Friday pricing is gone, which it is now, I'll be justified. But for Black Friday, we did go out. We went out. I think it's just because like my wife and I like overate like a lot at Thanksgiving. So like we were both up at like 4 a.m. on Friday after Thanksgiving. We're like, well, let's get up, have some coffee. Stores open at 6. We headed out. We went to Menards, the great
Yep.
Midwest Menards. Just walked around, bought virtually nothing. Went to Target, bought virtually nothing. Went to Walmart, again nothing. Stopped and got breakfast somewhere, and then we went to like the mall because my daughter wanted to go to Forever 21 and then TJ Maxx. And the only thing I bought on Black Friday was, and it's not even the version I wanted because of the download, but I bought the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1 on Switch at Best Buy because it was $20. I'd have preferred the Xbox Series X version, but they didn't have it. So I don't know. It's just like it's like you said though, like there's um nothing really making people go to stores, and like none of the stores were that busy. I would say Menards was the most busy, but that's simply because they kept their specials under wraps until like 6 p.m. the night before Black Friday, and they had a few good doorbuster deals, right?
Yep.
But I was surprised, and I think this will segue into what you're going to talk about. I was walking through Best Buy, and I was like walking through a stack. They always have a stack of like monitors and PC game or PC towers, PC gaming towers this time of year. And I walk by and I see like a 499 sticker. Like, all right, let me look at the specs on this. I'm fully expecting to walk up to like an 8 GB, like whatever you normally see. Like, no, like pretty good spec'd PC, full 16 gigabytes of RAM, like decent processor and graphics card for $499. And it was almost like, damn, like who's buying a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, let alone a PlayStation 5 Pro this year? And like this thing's right here, and they've got a great monitor that's like 160 hertz or 180 hertz monitor for $99, like 4 feet from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
It just like really like hammered it home. And I think the thing that kind of like pissed me off this year with Black Friday was like we never went out with an agenda, but it was always like well, let's grab the $2 DVDs or $5 Blu-rays and the games. And like no store had that. Like there wasn't the cardboard box with the because nobody carries movies. There's
Hmm.
no physical movies. And between Best Buy, Target, and Walmart, if they had a game that was on a Black Friday special, it was in the normal display case. There was no pop-up display. There was no grab and go. It was just like you were
Did they have a
shopping.
sticker at least or something that?
No, just sale
Wow.
prices, just sale. So
Huh.
it was so uneventful.
Wow. Yeah. That, and like even like, does vinyl even go on it? Because I mean, that
No,
seems like a premium product that they never do any sale
yeah,
on anymore.
vinyl used to be like a Walmart staple over the last 3 or 4 years. They didn't bother this year, not
Huh.
at all. So
Was it busy? Oh,
no,
no.
just Menards. And I think again, I think that's just because they didn't have a lot advertise leading up to it. So and you can buy online for the most part with their stuff
Hmm.
beforehand. And that was still totally fine. I'd say every other store was normal,
Sure.
which is
Yeah.
understandable. And
Yeah.
I honestly I prefer it. Like it's better for consumers, it's better for workers, nobody should have to be like coming in at midnight and, you know, Thanksgiving, which I'm sure some people still did, but it's not like it was for a while in America where people were coming in Thanksgiving Day at 4 p.m. and that shit was bull stuff.
Yep.
Bullshit.
Yep. I read an article talking about how this year there is like a a huge step back in deals for toys,
Sure.
which I found really interesting to be like, well, that's the main driver of holiday shopping, I would think.
It used to be.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now I guess it's consumer stuff that you buy to some extent, but yeah, I found that really interesting to be like, oh, so this is how all these companies are gonna bump up their profits. It's like, well, you still have to buy toys, so
Yeah.
just no deals on toys this year.
But I feel like children these days ask for less toys. Like we still haven't been able to get like full Christmas gift ideas or Santa present ideas out of my kids. Like they just
Yeah,
it doesn't register in their head. I mean, granted they're getting a little older, like 11 and 13, but like I don't know. It's weird.
it's yeah. Once they get to that age, it's really hard to find anything that is too young for them, and they're
Right.
not going to play with it, but also not $200. Because
Correct.
like everything they actually want is really expensive. So
Yes.
that's always the challenge.
Well, and
Uh,
speaking of that, I'll just fit in a side tangent. My son had his 11th birthday, and so I sprung for the chroma blue plates for his PS5 Slim and the chroma blue controller. Very cool colorway. Those plates are bullshit. Like they cost $70 and the way they assemble is so jank and finicky. Like literally just trying to put one of the four plates on. I don't know if it came damaged in shipping but like one of the tabs was like completely bent to where I was having to
mm,
like take a butter knife and like slowly move it backwards not to break the tab off. Like the instructions suck. It's not overly complicated. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's the worst thing ever, but like for what you're getting for the instructions, the product, the like application, the fuck? Like it's so bad.
it
Like you're better off buying like a skin for $30 and just like putting it over the like plastic veneers that are already there.
Yep, that's what they used to do. That
Mhm.
should have kept that way. Do you think you can 3D print them, or
Oh, I'm
is it like
sure.
too intricate?
No, not at all. They might be too fragile for like the pressure because like the way you have to that was the thing that I think got me was like the way you have to pop them in somewhat blindly and get them to go in with a
Okay,
decent amount of force like is problematic. Like
yeah.
I think if you used a pretty flexible print, at least something that might harden over time, you'd be okay. But yeah, for sure you can. There's no way you couldn't.
uh, yeah, that's $70 is insane for that.
It's ridiculous. And then
Uh,
sad part is like you get a bonus plate whether or not you have the disk drive or not, and then you still have to hold on to your old plates. So it's like it's the most burdensome product ever.
and they don't even fit the new ones, right? The
Right.
slim, like, yeah, it's
Mm. I'm
an
excited about your buy though. Tell me about what you picked up.
I have a new PC on the way.
Hmm.
Um,
Laptop,
Dell,
desktop.
a desktop. A
Okay.
Dell was running some pretty good deals on their sites, and the computer I have, the I've upgraded the video card and everything once or twice already, and even that is low, but the processor is now 11 years old, and games are
Mm,
just like, you can't do that anymore.
sure.
So it was time. And the new cards are coming out next year, early next year. And the rumor is they're going to be more expensive and kind of plateau a little bit.
Sure.
And Nvidia is just kind of like printing money. So they're just like, we're going to sell them anyway, so we can charge whatever the hell we want. Um, Never mind the over overbearing threat of tariffs
Yeah, yeah.
on the way. So
Just 100% for China. Actually, according to his math, 110%, but I don't know that he realizes that. But
yeah. So all that considered, seemed like a very good time to buy a new
yes, I would
computer.
agree. Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I got an Alienware with a 4080
Still
Super.
making
So
Alienware? I didn't know that brand was still
yeah,
alive under
yeah,
Dell.
yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy because if you would have bought all this stuff separately, it would cost you way more to like just build it. So
Hmm.
it's
So they
interesting that.
severely discounted this for Black Friday.
Yep,
Do they offer
yep.
like their payment plans and shit too, and like trying to get like a financing deal and like screw you?
Yeah, they tried to do that. So here's the thing that really screwed me so far. That is not resolved yet.
Okay.
Have you heard of Rakuten? Rakuten?
Mm, vaguely, maybe.
Yeah, it's a website that you like click a link to a website and you get cash back
Okay.
for this, right? And the deal that I saw on this was that they were running 15% on Dell. So I did that. It was kind of like a driving decision because it was a lot of money, 15% off already on a
Right.
computer. Um, seemed like it worked, did everything. And then 2 days later, tried to log in, says, "Oh, your account's not available." So yeah, I don't know if I'm getting that money.
Oh
They're prob
no.
they're just gonna block my account now.
Order
So that
something from Amazon. Say it wasn't the package you
yeah.
received.
Yep.
You can recoup
Yep.
this.
Yep. I don't know if I ordered a computer and said, "Well, I didn't show up." I don't know if they would probably refund that, but,
Huh. That's a bummer.
nonetheless, we'll
But
see
there
how
was
that.
still a deal without the 15%.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
There's, like, 10% off if you, like, become a first-time email, like, you just put in a
Yeah,
new
sure.
email and then
Block that
on
shit.
yep. And then I think they were doing 9 times or 10 times reward points, which was $150 in credit back to Dell, so
Nice. For that amount of money, you should be able to get the dude you're getting a Dell guy to like walk the computer up to you because I'm sure he's
right.
not doing anything at this point.
Yeah. Boy, I would love to check in on that guy.
I think he went to jail at some point.
Sounds right.
I think it was marijuana charges, which tracks.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Hmm. Well, that's exciting. So, like, I I have a PC. I play games on PC, but I don't know a lot about like specs. Like, so is this like ray tracing level of like?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
So
you're the tier above I am or me for
so
sure.
just like if you were gonna just buy the graphics card, it's like $1,200 just for the card.
Jeez.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it was a pretty deep discount altogether.
I feel like that's a good buy because I feel like what's going to happen over the next generation in consoles plus PC gaming, like I don't think you're going to see those like massive graphical loads. So I think you're probably going to be set for, 8 years at least.
Yep. Yep.
Can't imagine. I think
Yeah.
everyone's realizing that like we're kind of at the good enough point, right? And VR isn't taking over, so actually that's a pretty cool idea because now you'll have a rig beefy enough that you can get that Oculus cord and
Mhm.
really like you can do like the Half Life and
Yep. Yeah, I have one of those cords already. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm
yeah, maybe
guessing.
with your
I
new
mean,
rig it'll be
I know
sweet.
my machine can't do that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
I'm
that's
pretty excited
exciting.
about that.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
And our podcasts are going to be way better on that machine.
Yeah,
But they have to be.
because graphically, we'll
Yeah.
just we have ray tracing now
Yep.
in the podcast.
Yep.
Yep, I like it.
Finally, finally, a good enough sound card to make this thing sound good.
Well, it's still our shitty voices, so only so much you can do.
Yep. I did get one other new thing.
Oh,
Yeah, I got a little puppy.
Black Friday deal.
Kind of. Yeah. It's it was a good deal from somebody my wife knew. So,
Type of dog.
golden doodle.
Okay. I would be excited for you, except my daughter got or my sister got that like chocolate doodle, and that thing is like a monster from hell. So I hope
Oh,
that that
really?
isn't what happens to you. How big
Oh.
were the parents?
I don't know. The poodle was decently sized.
Okay.
I didn't see the other one. It's about 3/4 poodle.
Oh, maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
So my sister's dog, I don't know what the mix is. They said the parents were like 50-pound dogs, and this thing is like 95 pounds, and it stands, I'd say, a good foot over kitchen counter height. So
Oh, wow.
hopefully you don't unleash that hell upon your house because
Yeah.
it's basically like having a horse that you can take on walks.
Yeah, I hope it's not that big. I was thinking probably more, hip height, maybe
Yeah,
slightly lower than that or
that's the right
something.
amount.
Yeah.
What'd you name the thing?
I don't have a name yet. It's
Oh,
that fresh. We haven't
female,
settled on it.
male.
It's a male, 9
Okay,
weeks old.
nice. So you guys are doing like the whole like potty training,
Mhm.
all
Every
that
hour,
jazz.
that type of thing. Yeah. It's,
That's a tough one.
yep. And, realizing how much that affects, um, things you don't think about, right? Like even tonight where it's like, oh, I have podcasts. I can't have the dog in the kennel
Right,
right next to the podcast.
right. Yeah, luckily, I mean, if you keep on it and the dog's somewhat competent, which that breed it should be, you'll
Yep.
be through like most of the pain points in 2, 3 weeks. So the
Yep.
hard part, because you did the same thing we did, is like getting a dog this time of year. So it's like you're having to like potty train in the freezing cold. So the dog already has like no interest in going outside,
Yep.
let
Yep.
alone standing out there long enough to go to the bathroom. So
Yep.
that's exciting though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys never had a dog as long as I've known you, right?
Right.
Just
Yeah. We
cats.
kind of figured, at this, we got all our kids in school, but none of them are really in events or any,
Yeah.
sports or anything yet. So it's probably the best time to
Yeah.
get a puppy and get
Well, and
that
you're
going.
fortunate enough in like your home situation that you've got like the garages and the outbuildings. So like it's easy enough to put like a kennel on or like,
Hmm.
a doggy door and like get the radio frequency collar and you'll be fine if you go away
Yep.
for a long afternoon or a couple days. And
Yep. Yep. That's the plan.
kids pretty damn excited though, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We did not tell them anything about it. Just walked in the door with a puppy. They were
nice.
pretty excited. Um,
Hopefully your kids fare better than mine did with the dog like coming up with pecking order because my son is still lowest on pecking order. Even though we have a beagle that weighs like 30 pounds, he still owns my son whenever he gets the chance. So make sure they assert dominance. Like
yep.
you got to be above the puppy in the pack.
Yep. That's true. Yeah, now that you say that, my youngest is the one getting picked on by the dog, but
Yeah.
probably because it's the closest to the ground, so he thinks it's the
Yeah. There's still like
best to
once a
play with.
week that our dog just destroys my son. And like, well, you haven't asserted dominance. What are you going to do?
Yep.
Well, that's cool though. It's the right age too. It's like that's kind of what we were with. Like, I never really wanted to get a dog, but it's like, well, if we, like you said, like if you don't do it now, it's gonna be too late, and then what's the
Yep.
point? Like, I feel like everybody should grow up with a dog, right?
Yep. Have a family dog around. Yep.
If he ate my cats, I'd be
Even better.
yeah, 100%. Um, well, my exciting news, other than Black Friday, we went to see. Well, I guess this is Black Friday related because it came out basically Thanksgiving, but we went to see Moana 2 in theaters because the kids were all excited about that. So $115 for a family of four, well spent.
Jeez.
Um, that was nuts at the theater. Like we had to wait until Sunday to go, and then we booked in the morning, and it was still just like really tough to get tickets. I had to go to the crappy theater in town too, instead of the normal one we go to. And kids liked it. I will say, as far as Disney movies go, they just like painted by numbers on this. Like it is literally just the first movie, just like slightly tweaked villain, uh, basically the same thing. Like they just like
Hmm.
note for note. It's not bad. I'm not gonna like say it's a bad movie. It's not. There is a song that is fully sung, like sung slash like spoken rap word poetry by The Rock in this one, which is just abysmal. They should not let him do that. I can't wait to see the horrors that come from the live action adaptation of Moana. But it was awful. Still liked it better than the Shiny song from the first movie, but yeah, this movie was like it was just that. It was just Moana again. I did laugh though when they made a like at some point Maui refers to Moana as like, "Hey, princess." She's like, "Still not a princess." And then he's like, "Well, a lot of people think you are." And then like a 3-year-old girl in the audience is like, "Yeah, that's true." It's like, yeah, I
That's great.
guess. But yeah, it's perfectly fine. Everybody liked it. Just a little more critical than the rest of my family.
Yeah.
It was
I
okay.
it just, I mean, at some point, that they have to do it to make money. I mean, they
Right.
owe it to their shareholders, Disney, to do this.
Yeah.
They can't. The artist is never going to win and say, "Hey, Moana, the first one was a great movie, and there was really nowhere to go after that. So
Yeah.
let's just leave it."
Yeah, I will say the most disturbing thing from the whole thing was the preview section, and they showed the live action adaptation of Snow White. Snow White is not Caucasian, which tracks for live action adaptations, which whatever, I don't give a shit. But I think what I do give a shit about is that they're all human actors, but they didn't hobbit the dwarves. They fucking like uncanny valley animated all the dwarves to these like pseudo like animated humanoid creature things that kind of look like old aged California raisins in dwarf attire. And I don't know why they made this design choice. It's very disturbing and does not fit the film at all. Like the animals that they animated look 100 times more realistic than these dwarves. It's kind of fucked up.
So are they like dwarf actors though?
No,
No, they're just normal people.
100% like they just animated some dwarf looking people. Like there's no people, there's no motion capture. There's just like creepy, like Shrek, but improved dwarves in the middle of this movie with human people for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, the Fellowship did this like 20 years ago. Could we not have repeated that? Like,
right, right.
I don't understand. Even in
Yeah.
Wicked, from my understanding, like the Munchkin Kingdom or whatever has like actual human actors, but for whatever reason, they're like, no, we wasted all our budget on that. So we're just gonna like do these shitty, like it's you need to watch the trailer. Like it is really like jarringly bad. I don't
I
it's not gonna ruin the movie by any means, but like it's a choice that they didn't need to make and they did for some reason that I can't fathom.
Well, probably because they also did the Snow White decision, right? To cover so
Sure.
that
It will
everybody talks about the
distract.
dwarves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like I saw that and I was like, I don't know what we're doing here. And plus, I didn't know it was being made live action. I also didn't know that Lilo and Stitch is being remade live action until that
Yeah.
movie preview either. So I don't. And there's like another live action, but not live action Lion King movie. Like I don't know if this is like a Disney needs to make things using those characters to retain licensing longer, but it's too much.
Yeah. That's my take on it.
Has to be right.
That it always comes back to the trademark, right? Stuff with them. Even so, we were watching the Thanksgiving Day parade, and they're like they had a Minnie Mouse balloon, and everybody's like, Minnie Mouse, the first time she's ever had a balloon in the Macy's Day parade,
That
and I'm
can't be,
like,
is it?
yeah, and then I'm like,
Oh,
I was on the skeptical side of that too, basically, like, well, her trademark's just about up, so yeah,
uh,
we're using her in a balloon, we're using her for all
sure.
this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, I, I mean, I think the Lion King probably is the worst offender. I still have not seen that first one, that live action, because that's the one where it's like you're already animating this stuff
Yeah,
in a
after I
live
watched that
action.
like Beauty and the Beast adaptation, I was like done. So it's just like I don't like what you did here. Like you're shitting on my childhood. Like nobody needs
Yeah.
this. Like it's fine if like you're a new generation and getting into it, but like it's just revisionist history. It's George Lucas putting fucking Jabba the Hutt back in the original Star Wars, as far as I'm concerned. Like it can all get fucked.
That's what they should be naming them. Is special edition after everyone.
Yeah. Well, my original vision for the film wasn't that it would be animated at all. It would be it would be live action, and you know, half these characters would be like queer characters, but it wasn't okay to be queer at the time. So I don't know.
Yep.
Again, I don't care about that. But that's the other part with this like Disney live action stuff is it's like every other character has to be a different race, and like half of them have to be a certain sexuality. Otherwise, it's like they can't produce the film. Which again, I don't care. But like you're already basing it off of a movie that I watched when I was like 10. So like I already have my like memories and like associations with these characters, whether or not that's right or wrong. It's just
Right.
it's jarring
And
as an adult.
none of it ever plays into the story anyway, right?
Right. It's
You
just
know, it's
changes made
just
for the sake of appeasing people now.
yeah,
Which again, I guess is fine. It's just again jarring. No, I don't know.
yeah. But now like little people don't have representation now.
Yeah, that's
We have
right.
to
Like we can
you know,
give them a job. What are we doing? We're animating them out. Disney
can't have both sides.
went on like a really weird woke tangent there. I don't know why. I'm not even against any of that shit, but whatever. Maybe I
Oh,
have deep seated regret.
yeah. You you didn't know how you felt about Snow White
No,
until
until
you
I
saw
saw those animated dwarfs. Went down a rabbit hole, just lost my shit. I think I'm gonna just get a MAGA hat and sit on my throne and call it a day.
Yep.
So another two, I'm gonna touch on this quick. Oh, you did. I just realized you did a bait and switch on the staff pick. So
Oh yeah,
cool.
yep.
All right. So the other two, the Switch 2 thing, there's been like so much news since we last recorded, and like the leaks have been like the Switch 2 is coming out before the end of March, which didn't Nintendo say that like six
Yeah.
months ago? So that's been interesting. It's like, okay, confirmed it's coming out before the end of the year, which they already confirmed. But then there was that whole like Nintendo Switch 2 controller leak thing, which was like the most like pre HD, like flip phone, razor phone picture of like some bootleg, I think, Switch controllers
Yeah, that
that are
seems
clearly not the Switch
fake.
2
Yep.
controllers. I don't know why this stuff keeps making the rounds. It's like we know when it's coming out roughly. Like, and I think it's probably going to look a little better than what this shit is, but people still get just super excited about the possibility. I just looked at those photos and I was like, that just looks like a really crappy, like AliExpress or like
Hmm.
Timu version of some
Yep.
Joy-Con that you ordered, and somebody took a
Yep.
really grainy photo and called it a day and said like
Yep.
Switch 2.
We got to put some filters on it to make it seem like
Right.
we did this as a spy or something.
Yeah, we'll throw some kanji on the bottom of the picture just to make it seem like it's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's really interesting that like yeah, they say, before the quarter ends
Yeah.
and but obviously they can't talk about it right now because
Yeah.
they don't want to cannibalize Switch sales for Christmas. So,
I mean, it's all pointing to like 2017 all over again, right? Like January reveal, pre-orders go up February, it comes out
yeah.
Or March. Like, seems like that's where we're at,
Yep.
which makes perfect sense. So
But what games?
I don't know that it matters. Here's my prediction: first party lineup at launch, weak. I think it'll be Metroid Prime 4 because I think that's the only thing they've got ready to go.
Yeah. There's probably I think that Pokemon one is due this spring.
Okay,
There's a Pokemon one. That could be.
but launch day, do you think they have much else? They've
Uh,
had enough time that an Odyssey sequel is theoretical, right? Unlikely, but theoretical.
Can they can they port Mario Kart 8
Good lord,
again?
again. I see them more likely leaning into a Link's director's cut of some sort than that, and then maybe giving that like some DLC, even though they said they couldn't, or like unique items.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think Prime 4 seems like likely. A
Yeah.
likely also launching on Switch, but coming out like in the preferred, method because they've announced
Yeah.
that it's still in the works. So
Yeah. But that Metroid sells way better than it used to, but it's
right,
still not a
it is still not the launch, right?
it's not like the casual game that they're no, the wide reach.
Yeah,
So that could be interesting.
yeah. It's
I
just
don't
weird
know.
because like I don't know what other properties they have that are like ready to go.
Hmm. And
It's
I don't,
Nintendo.
I don't know if I can do another round of just here's another Animal Crossing, here's another Mario Party, here's another. It's just
Oh, I can. I'm done.
it's
Give me
it's too.
take my money. I'll do it. I'm
I
buying
probably
that
will,
Donkey
but
Kong Returns HD in January. I don't give a shit. I'll never play it. Here's my $60. Such a sucker at this point. Like it's literally the only system I buy physical games for. So it's like I might as well be all in. If it's first party, I'm buying it.
yeah, it might be. I mean, other than my Wii U, obviously, but it might be my other console that I've purchased pretty much every first party game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you didn't for the Wii U, you weren't playing shit. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
those 12 exclusives were the reason I won that thing.
Yep.
Which I still go back. I say that like the years I had a Wii U, like my favorite gaming memories every year were on that console,
Hmm.
which is crazy because the PS4 especially was hitting at all cylinders. And I had a lot of fun on that stuff too, but like every year, like a banger or two would come out for that thing.
Yep.
And then like you'd have nobody to talk to them about because no one you knew owned a Wii U. Except for you. Like you and me were the
Yep.
only two people.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then, all those came to the Switch and everybody realized how great they were. And it was like, well, I'm only getting half the games because I played all these.
Right. And then now they've been going on discounts, so I buy them all. Like
Yep.
got most of the sad. The only thing I haven't really pulled the trigger on is Toadstool, whatever. I haven't bought that again. Captain Toad. Bought that.
Oh, yeah.
I think pretty much everything else I did. Yes.
Uh,
Well, you bought a game that I know I'll never play or buy, but it's been on some best of game of the year lists. Tell us
yeah.
about that.
I, uh, I fell into the world of Balatro.
Okay. Explain Balatro to me other than its cards and why this is
Oh,
such a big deal.
hmm. So it's poker at the basic basis. You need to know poker hands.
Okay. What about Poker
Um,
Face?
yeah, Lady Gaga is a must in this game.
Okay. Good.
Um, no, you don't need much of that. But it's also a roguelike and kind of in the vein of, um, well, like a Vampire Survivors, where you start small, have nothing, and you get things that combo off of each other.
Okay.
You'll get something that says, "Oh, every time a two or an odd number card in a hand that's played, you get 30 more chips." Or they also get really wild sometimes and say all cards are considered face cards. So then
Oh,
they obviously qualify for all these other cards that say if you play a face card, you get $1. If you get a face card, you get a multiplayer, all that stuff. All that stuff. So it really is like playing poker hands, and you get enough to go over the number that the blind is. Then you move on to the next round. You buy cards or buy jokers, which are your modifiers, and then planets, and then there's tarot cards that do kind of different type of things like that too, just to raise up your ability to score higher, right?
yeah.
And it really is just trying to find the best combination as you go. It reminds me a lot more of Binding of Isaac,
Okay.
where if you happen to cross the right things, you obliterate the game. Like there's almost no stopping you. And it's, for a roguelike, I think my third or fourth game, I beat the run, which is
Wow.
kind of unheard of,
Right.
in those type of things. And I've done it a few times since then, but you get new decks that have different starting stats and stuff like that. So it's got that like, oh, one more time, one more run,
Sure.
just like Vampire Survivors. Um,
Is it harder to get into though, being it's like a card based game? Like, is it harder to like see that? I don't know. Like, there's just something about like a card based game where I feel like it's not as action oriented, so it's like harder to draw someone in who might be like fringe on the idea. No.
yeah, I mean, it is at the basis of it. I think I was the same way where I was like, it's just card. It's what's the point of the cards? But
Right.
there is, you get a certain number of discards each round too, so you can pick 5 cards at max to discard, and you get 5 new cards in your hand.
Okay.
So there's a lot of like trying to, gamble on whether you're going to get a 4 of a kind or a straight or something like that. Um, but from my experience, it's you're better off just like going on a run that like really pumps up a 2 pair or a single pair. Or I've even seen people do like just a high card
Sure.
and beat the whole game just running high card. on-
Interesting.
so I think it all comes down to that is like finding the interesting combinations and then like really feeling like, oh man, I mastered this.
Sure.
It kind of has that same, Vampire Survivors where you're just like, I'm just standing here and nobody can touch me
Right.
feel of that. But there are so many runs where it just doesn't, you just don't get the cards that you need to, nothing meshes well. And it just, and then at a certain point, the number that you need to beat just becomes like exponential. It's like, you just gotta have a crazy combo toward the end.
Sure.
And there is an endless mode, and that gets really crazy because it's just like adding like millions on top of millions, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know how anybody can get through that, but
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds appealing. Like I know it's made a lot of like best ofs. I can't imagine me getting to the point where I would sink the time into it. But
I think it's on mobile. I don't know if it's free, so it might be worth checking out if it's
oh,
free.
okay.
But
Would you buy it on Steam?
Steam, it was on sale on Steam.
Yeah, that was like 20 physical. A lot of places over Black Friday too. So
Yeah, I think it was only 15% off, but I was like, well, I've heard enough about this.
yeah.
I'll try it out. Um, thing that they need to do. So it's one of those games that like if you there's achievements on certain things,
Hmm.
like they keep stats and stuff, and that's how they unlock new things, like new cards and new jokers and stuff like that, new modifiers, right? The problem with that is your pool gets bigger. So the odds of finding the right combinations
Ah,
gets harder.
so the
Uh,
grind gets slower and like
Right.
yeah, you
The
got to
more you
balance that. Like you got to balance that playtime and reward mechanic.
Yep.
Otherwise, it
So
really just doesn't hook you.
the Binding of Isaac got that way for me, where you unlock so many things that you could never the randomization of all the items, it just could never mesh to something that was good anymore.
Right.
In Vampire Survivors, I believe there's a way to like lock out, right? Like
Yeah.
say, I don't want to use these ones. I
Yep.
don't
You
want
can go
these
into
to
the
show up.
stats and like turn them off. Yep.
Yeah. See, that's what this needs is
Sure.
like, I mean, I guess you could limit it to how many you don't want to show up, but at least have some like, I'm going for this run. This is the opposite side of the spectrum of that,
Right.
and I don't want it to show up.
Yeah, maybe that will be something they patch in if like there's
Hmm.
legs on this thing.
And
So
maybe it's already there. Maybe it's who knows.
yeah, yeah, I could see that though, because like yeah, that becomes a problem. It's not a good way to like keep people engaged. Like you want the satisfaction plus like the frequency. So
Right. Well, and then every card, of course, is there's a foil and a holofoil and a polychrome version of every card
Sure.
too, which makes it, better. So it's like, well,
Or
then it's
shinier.
all, yeah, more luck to it. That just kind of more luck goes into it, the better your run gets.
Sure.
I don't know. At some point, those games get to become too much of a grind when there's too much luck and randomness.
Yeah.
So when you're losing every run because it's like, well, there's nothing here that can turn into a machine that can beat the end
Yeah.
of the game, you know?
Well, it sucks too. Like once you're that good at that type of game, like you realize like how defeated and stuck you are like right away. So it's just like, well, this is going nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Sucks.
It's it I recommend it I mean, for the price it is. I've already
Yeah.
probably put 10 hours into it.
Oh wow.
And I'll probably play some more, but I do feel like this is not one that's it's not going to be a Vampire Survivors where I need to see everything. This is,
Sure.
I think yeah, unless they have some system that I can kind of work toward a build I want, because even in Vampire Survivors, even most of the time by the end of the game, you've maxed it out and you
Yeah.
can build everything exactly how you want it to. So,
Well, at least Vampire Survivors had like that like added challenge of like doing certain things with every character. And it's like, well, I hate these
yep,
abilities, but I want to check it off the list. And
yep.
yeah, yeah. Well, I see something else on here that I dislike a lot. That is a movie franchise. Are you watching the
Yeah,
movies or are you watching the series?
the movie.
You watched the first
Have
one.
you seen him?
I have not watched the original. I've
Yeah.
seen Dune 1 and 2, the new ones, and I greatly dislike that product a lot. And the time, had I not been stuck on an international flight to watch them, I would not have finished the first one or even have started the second one. But I was like, I have 7 hours to kill, so let's just keep
Yep.
the pain train going.
The f- I was all in on the first one. I liked what the first one did.
It goes in an okay directions. I still think there's a lot of bullshit, but yes,
And then the second one is just like,
flushes everything you liked about the first one away.
yeah, I mean, he's just infallible. It's
He's
like,
an
yeah, they were setting him up,
unlikable
but
protagonist,
yeah, they set him up to be like, oh, he's a god. And it's
uh-huh.
like, and then the second one is like, yeah, he's a god.
But he's also an asshole, which I guess
Yeah.
is what a god is. So yeah, I agree.
And the way that one ends, it's like it feels like there should be more. It feels like those two should be together, right?
Uh huh.
Zendaya and Chalamet should be together. That's the way they seemed the whole movie. And then it's
Right.
like at the end, it's like, no, it's not going to be that way. So then I'm like Googling, like, there a third one?
There
Because
is, right?
I don't think so. The
Oh, I
book,
thought there was a part
I
3, and it was like an intergalactic apocalypse was what I
it
thought it
could
was going to
be.
be.
So like I talked to a guy who read the book and he says, no, that's how the book ends.
Oh, okay.
So
So what the fuck is this series on HBO about then?
I don't know. I haven't. I was so angry at that movie that I'm like, I don't even want to get too invested in it. I guess,
Yeah.
but
Well, even like the first one, I feel like there's just like too much like lore and like
mm, there's a
fucking
lot.
bullshit to like keep up with that it like takes away from the enjoyment. But like it felt like a good sci-fi movie. But yeah, once you get into the second one, I was just like, I hated him as the main character. I was like, I hate this. It sucks. Like now we're just in like political, like, kingdom running, like kings and queen bullshit. Like this sucks. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did not like it. Uh I could see how you'd be slightly excited after the first one, but yeah, that second one just flushed it all away from me.
for a movie that has like amazing visuals, like, and the art direction is crazy good. I
Yeah.
do like a lot of the lore, the politics. I enjoy some of
Sure.
that, and great acting pretty much across the board. And then at the end, they have to be like, oh, and Christopher Walken is the main bad guy. And it's like, oh, that just took me so out of it. That's like,
Yeah.
well, he can't be a character without just being Christopher Walken to me
Yeah.
anyway. But
You're right. Honestly, like that universe feels like it could benefit from like a really well done like 3 season run anime, like to
Hmm.
really tell that story. Especially with
Yeah.
the visuals being mostly sand, like it would like so much of those shots are just sand. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I don't know.
I do want to see that original movie because it is amazing
Yes.
to me that they put all of that into one movie. I don't know how you could make that coherent, but
Yeah, I never watched Dune, but like I've thought about that too. Is like I should probably see what the first one was. I don't know. It just I just after watching both of them, I just didn't understand why there was like both movies came out to like such big fanfare. And I'm like, I just don't see it.
yeah.
No. And maybe I'm cynical too because I've watched like how many sci-fi movies have been in that realm since then. Since about 95 to like 2015, I feel like a lot of movies did that same thing. So
Right.
I'd even say The
And
Fifth Element is in that vein,
oh
like
yeah,
a
for
little more
sure.
cartoony, but
Yeah. And I think that's kind of maybe like Fifth Element is more of the pulpy cartoony, like you said,
yeah.
whereas in mainstream, then this is kind of like we're gonna stick to the art, the artsy part of this and like deep politics.
Yeah. And hallucinogenic drugs for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. All that stuff was real weird.
Yeah. And drinking dead body water, but whatever.
Hmm.
Well, move on to staff picks.
Hmm.
I'll go with mine because it's gonna be quick because I couldn't come up with anything. But on Thanksgiving we had a keg of, well, I say keg, it's like a mini keg, the 1 or 2 gallon kegs you can buy at the grocery store of 1919 root beer. And I don't drink a lot of soda. And since I've been a kid, I've not drank a lot of root beer, but 1919 root beer is shockingly good for a soda. Like really good.
Especially from a tap.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's local-ish to us. It's from August Shell Brewing in New Ulm,
Hmm.
Minnesota, which they're
Yeah.
one of the oldest, I think they are maybe the oldest family-owned brewery in Minnesota. And they also, if you've never heard of Shell's beer, they acquired the Grain Belt line probably 15 years ago now. They've been making
Yeah.
Grain Belt, which is another Midwestern classic. And they produce this root beer also at their factory. So it's kind
Yep.
of cool. It's
I've
very
toured
good.
there.
Yeah, I toured it too. It's and New Ulm's such an interesting town too, because like you don't realize until like you go there and take the tour, but like New Ulm is like literally some like wealthy people back in the day were like, hey, let's build a town in this like hellscape, and like, this is the perfect spot. There's like a river valley and hills, and like we'll just move migrants out here and start factories, and that's what they did. And there's still a city there,
Yep.
and a brewery. So
And it's deeply, deeply German to the point that
uh-huh.
people that are there's some people there that still
Yes.
only speak German. It's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah, and I think it was like one of the last places in Minnesota that still like not only did they have like the daily milkman, but there was like the Shell Brewery man who would just like bring beer to your doorstep every day, like very late into the last century. So yeah, yeah, 1919 root beer. I don't know where you can get it. Like it's probably mostly national, probably not fully though. So
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question because I mean most bars, well, I mean a lot of bars will have it
yeah, that's the kind of their
on
kiddie
tap.
tap, right?
Yep.
Yeah, if you serve beer, they'll have that.
And yeah, it really is probably the best root beer you can buy
Yeah,
for
like it
sure.
beats the hell out of like anything else that I can think of.
Mhm.
I used to think like mug root beer was like the epitome, which I don't even know if they make that anymore.
Yeah. A&W from the restaurant is
Yes.
decent. Until the last time I went to an A&W restaurant and they gave me a cup to take to the fountain machine. I
Those
was very upset.
bastards. Yeah. They killed A&W. Yes.
I I have some root beer going through this house too.
Oh?
Yeah. Last time we were at Costco, I saw they had a Sprecher root beer, 24 pack on sale. So I'm like,
Yeah, it's
oh,
also a
root beer's
classic.
fun. It's no 1919, but it's a step above all the other
Yes.
root beers.
Did you ever get in like sarsaparilla when you were a kid?
Hmm.
I got
That's
big into
a
that. Mostly because it
yeah.
looked the most like beer in the bottle. So it's like, yeah, this is and it is really good. It's like a punchier root beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think you can still get that, the Sioux City stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right. for another like 10 years, and then like nobody's gonna remember what's that. We're so old, people are gonna be, what the fuck is sarsaparilla?
Yeah. Yeah. Has it outlasted Jones? I don't even know if Jones is still around.
Oh, Jones is still in like boutique shops, but yeah.
Okay.
Jones isn't like it used to be where they were like in every gas station and every like Target and
Yeah.
yeah. I think like once they started getting into like turkey flavored beer, maybe or like
Yeah.
sodas, they were like, yeah, we maybe jumped the shark.
Yep. Now we're
Yeah.
in the candy store that has 200 sodas.
Yeah, with like bacon flavored soda and like what are we doing here? Yeah. Well, yours probably your pick has probably a little more substance than mine. What did you go with?
Yeah. So this is a preview um, for our movie podcast on the Geekade Patreon.
You have to be careful not to spoil too much for me.
Right. We watched Jack Frost, and it's not the Michael Keaton one, not the
No,
family flick.
not the 1998 one. This is the wholly different
The,
1997 one.
yeah, the original,
There was probably like 8 movies called Jack
not the
Frost before
remake.
this. Yeah. Not the family friendly watered down bullshit.
uh so yeah, you'll have to subscribe to Geekade Patreon to listen to our thoughts on that movie.
Hmm.
They made a sequel in 1998,
Which is hilarious, like back to
which
back.
didn't release, I think, till 2000, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. Um,
Probably a
and
cease and desist from whatever company was putting out the Jack Frost Michael Keaton movie.
yeah, there's a trivia on it that they originally wanted to just call it Jack Frost 2, but they had to add a subtitle like Revenge of the Murderous Snowman. So
Which I
not
could
to
see
get
because, like,
confused.
if you're going into a or like movie rental store in 1999, you'd see Jack Frost and then the Jack Frost sequel, and you'd assume it was like the next family
Yeah.
feature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's problematic.
This one is way, way lower budget.
That's possible.
Yeah. It's shot on digital video, so like camcorder. It
Okay.
it's got like that weird look to it.
Did they use tripods this time, or was it still shaky hand
It was
cam?
still shaky in a lot of
Yeah, who
places,
needs a
and
tripod? Yeah.
right. Um, and they go to the Caribbean. The sheriff is it's like, let's get away from snow during
There's a
Christmas.
snowman in the Caribbean, is what you're telling me.
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, he comes back. He makes it down there, and it's got a lot of most of the original actors in
Which is
it.
still nobody you know.
No, absolutely not.
Does it still have what's her name? The girlfriend? Wait, maybe she got murdered. Oh, she dead. Never mind.
Yeah,
Never mind.
none of those. It's the original, the
The
sheriff's
parents.
family,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
the
Son.
no, I don't know what
Oh,
happened to
he's
the son.
gone.
I mean, if I had that son, I would be like, yeah, okay, we lost him. I don't know, but
Stop making me granola snacks, you little son of a bitch.
uh, this movie is right up my alley. It
Okay.
is terrible in the
Mhm.
best possible ways. It's terrible acting. There was like, hardly any direction. They were basically just be like, "Oh, this is what we're doing. Let's do it." Um, they come down to at one point, they're shooting antifreeze out of super soakers.
Because that worked well before.
Yeah, and it kind of worked for a little while, but it didn't kill him. And then
Mhm.
he spit up some stuff, and those guys turned into snowballs that
Mm.
were like little baby snowballs that just were murderous and mischievous.
So it's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow guys, but snowmen.
Right. They're just like little tiny snowballs with eyes.
Okay.
And the last half hour of the movie is basically Gremlins.
Sure.
It's like all these snowballs just having the time of their life in the Caribbean, killing people as well if they get in the
Um,
way of their
that
fun, you know?
that makes sense since the first movie is essentially just Chucky, but it's a snowman.
Yep.
Like it's they just rip stuff off.
Yep, pretty much. But it is amazing. It's it they kill all the babies and the snowman cries.
Here
So
was my prediction as we were watching the first one was that The dad, the sheriff character, was going to become the unwitting murderer in the second one because he jumped into an antifreeze bath with an open chest wound along with Jack in the first one. So it's like, oh, it's in his DNA now. But like, I'm
Okay,
kind of mad they didn't do that.
so this it went the opposite way.
Okay.
The antifreeze does not kill him anymore,
Okay.
but because the sheriff's blood was mixed in with him when he was melted,
That's why he got to come back.
he came back and he he now also shares the allergy of bananas that the sheriff has.
Which is lore that was not built into the first movie at all.
I don't think so.
So
And
let me
then
guess, banana
yep,
juice and cocktails is what takes him down in the end. Huh?
yep, he gets shot with a banana at the end and explodes. So
That
yeah, that's
that tracks.
yep. Uh, I would highly recommend it. You don't need to see the first one. There's
I mean, I
nothing.
feel like you should.
I mean, yeah,
There's a part
but the
three
second one,
yet, so you gonna watch that for the next time?
I don't think there is.
Isn't there?
No,
Oh,
they tease it at the end. They were gonna make a Godzilla snowman thing,
okay.
but I don't think it happened.
Wow. I'll have to watch this then.
If you got an hour and a half, don't
Yeah.
expect anything good. It's going to be a complete waste of time, but there's going to be I was laughing pretty hard at how it's one of those things where you don't know if they meant it to be that bad or if they were in on the joke. And those are the best kind of movies.
I feel like they knew it sucked. Like it was very
Yeah.
clear with me with the first one that they knew they were making something that sucked. Like
Yeah.
that first movie, like could be better shot, filmed, and edited on like an iPhone 4 than the entire movie was done
Yeah.
in
It's pretty bad.
1997. Yeah. I'll have to check that out. I did rewatch this first one tonight because I got so excited to see Jack Frost after we recorded last time. I watched it right away after we recorded. I was like, I need a refresher. And I put it on just thinking I'd like fast forward through and like, no, I just watched it all right before we recorded. So, uh, well,
Both of them are on Tubi, so
yes, which is the price is right on that.
yep.
Free with ads.
If you're having a good time with us at Weekend Rental, I think you might enjoy all the great geeky stuff found on the Geekade Podcast Network. They've got podcasts about games, music, movies, and more. Plus, if you order off their secret menu, also known as the Geekade Patreon, you just might find an exclusive movie podcast hosted by Ryan and myself. Check it out over at geekade.com. And hey, if you'd like to turn Weekend Rental into a true multimedia experience, our YouTube and Twitch channels might just be for you.
All right. So the weekend rental, if you're not familiar, it's a game we play for a given system. Andy and I put some time into it and we'll decide if we're going to give uh the game a buy, a rent, or a burn on our scale. We're talking about the Game Boy Color version of Alone in the Dark. There's some subtext after that, but I don't know that it really matters too much. Interesting title. It came to Switch Online. I feel like a lot of the Game Boy Color library is a library that I would say the majority of people slept on. I think most Game Boy owners had moved on. I think the Game Boy Color kind of caught on with a younger generation in the interim while most people moved on. So it's interesting that a few notable mature titles like this and like the Metal Gear Solid spin-off ended up on Game Boy Color. And this game is what you think it would be. It's attempting to be an early 3D Alone in the Dark Resident Evil style game on the very very limited Game Boy Color. Um and for the most part it kind of captures that. You're on a murder mystery trail tracking down somebody on like a island and there's witchcraft and like an artifact. And your character is supposed to be a human, but in most of the scenes that his sprite comes in and out of frame on, he appears to be like a half chimp, half human. I'm not sure.
Or Danzig, one of
Yeah, actually, that's
those.
spot on. Yeah, yeah. It I don't know. It's hard to rate this game because it cannibalizes what makes this game and like a Resident Evil and survival horror um engaging, and that is the jump scares and the wow factor, and it just changes that out for random encounters
Yeah.
with very little consequence and or fun or scare factor. So then what you're left with is like a corridor searching game, but with the graphical fidelity of like a Game Boy printer photo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty rough.
Yeah. They said somebody along the line said, let's port the Dreamcast one, or some other version of it down,
Yeah.
and they did it. But should they have? That's kind of
Right.
what it comes down to. Because for it to make it to, I mean, you couldn't have done any type of normal combat
No,
in the view
God,
that you
no.
saw. There was no way you would be able to do
No.
that. So I mean, they did the best they could by doing those like top down kind of like random. I
Yes.
think they're random encounters. They seem like it's just like seems like it's the Castlevania 2 thing where it's just like, well, we're fighting now.
Yeah, there did seem to be a couple of rooms where like time and time again you would walk into them and they would just keep coming up, but that
Okay.
was rare. Um and I think like it's a little difficult to describe, but like what we're really talking about in this game is like the main core gameplay is like that isometric, like static, like pre-rendered background, and you've got this, you know, similar to the, all those early survival horror games where you've got this character that's then like navigating through it. So you've kind of got these like weird, lifeless stills of the world you're in, and then they've done a really good job. I will give them credit of like this pixelated character really rendering in and scaling to like show depth. But, in a game where it's all about like navigating, like really, everything is grayscale, blues, browns. It's really difficult to tell like what's a path, what's an object
Mhm.
you can interact with, what isn't. And they give you a map from the outset, but like they don't give you a detailed, like even like mansion diagram. So it's almost more of like this struggle of like walking into every corner blindly to see where a path is than it is fun exploration after a while.
Right. And a lot of times, it's very it'll jar you because it changes the view or the
Yes.
angle of your room. So you'll go to the next scene and you're like, well, you turned 80 degrees over here and now
Yeah.
so you do that 3 or 4 times, pretty easy to be like, what am I where am I?
Yep.
Even
100%.
without a map, it's really tough even just spatially to even think about what is this room even shaped like and where am I in it?
Yeah. Yeah, they've done a lot of like impressive stuff with the visuals and the way they've like tried to render it on that screen. I mean, granted, I was playing it on a Switch. I can't imagine what it looked like in the original hardware on a much smaller screen that wasn't backlit. But the visuals for what they were attempting to do were good. I just think they kind of hamper like they gave you a good approximation on the go for the hardware, but like it's just so by the numbers because like every clue you run into is very hand holdy. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this door is locked, but the wood is really weird and decayed. Maybe there's some other, it's like, okay. And then like the next door will be like, well, this one's locked, but that wood is good and strong. We'll need to find the key. And like I feel like all the clues are that like on the nose, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You just have to look around and it's like the 2 things that you need.
Yes.
It's not even I don't think you can combine, like, it's not like that
No.
not like those type adventure games. It's really is just find the thing you need
Yeah.
to progress, and I like that. I
Yeah.
I kinda like those type of games. On a Game Boy Color, that sounds amazing, but I really struggled, especially once you got into the mansion,
Yes.
just even navigating or even
Yeah.
being like once you're lost in something like that, it's really hard to keep going with it.
Yeah,
I
and it's
felt.
so easy in some of those corridors in that mansion to like miss one side piece and then like you completely waste 30 minutes of your time just to realize that you like dumb lucked into it the second go around.
Hmm.
And then like also like it did some stuff that like fit the genre, like with the whole Resident Evil thing too, where like you would go and there'd be like a static, like shiny, like gem in the background. You go up to it and like grab it. But then, with the ammo and stuff, it just looked like a giant orange like dick on this floor. It's like, well, couldn't we have treated that with the same level of respect as you gave like every other item? I
Hmm.
don't know. And then some things like switches, there was no designation for. You just have to be like walking up against a wall and like spamming B to be like,
Yeah.
oh, you pressed a switch. And now like you hear a buzzing. It's like, I didn't even know that was a switch.
Hmm.
You gave me no prompt. And that's like where the pitfalls come in is like they tried a lot of stuff, but like the practicality of it, like given the hardware limitations, granted, it does it better than like say like the Resident Evil game that got ported to Game Boy Color. But I don't know, it came at a cost. Like trying to make it feel like a 3D game really hampered it on the hardware that it's on.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I can't even imagine trying to put those two together to say, okay, here's this intricate layout that we've descaled down to whatever 100
Yeah.
pixels, and then we have to have this guy scale back and forth in size to replicate where he is in that picture. It's really impressive in that
Yeah.
regard. It's amazing, actually. It's just too bad. Like if this game had a lot of like very bright, distinctive color between rooms, and like I don't even, if the mansion had like, okay, we're in the green section and now we're in the red room, or I
Right.
don't give a crap. That would have been much more playable to me,
Yeah.
even though it'd be less atmospheric, I guess. It still would have been better than what this turned out to be for me.
Yeah. It really boils down to like Maze Runner the game. Like there's very little to it other than that. Like trying to find the right thing to open the next door and find said door to progress the story. Because there's the combat that is there is so limited, and the puzzles that they present to you are so on the nose. There's no real challenge into it. The challenge is navigating the muddy, mucky wasteland of the graphics and trying to figure out where to go next to find the next item.
Yep. I've never played the original. That's
Okay.
pretty highly regarded for when that came out. Kind of like, oh, we beat everybody at the punch to kind of survival horror, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of their claim to fame. And yeah, so it's interesting that they came back and then, yep, Game Boy's the platform. I mean, I guess they
Yeah.
had a couple other ones, but
That was the second PlayStation game I ever played.
really?
Yeah. Yeah. My cousin rented one time for a Thanksgiving holiday or Christmas holiday, and he rented some weird like space racing game and then Alone in the Dark. But then, back then, like with rentals, like you didn't get a memory card. So like there was virtually no progression. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was all a game of like more so than Resident Evil. It was almost like a Tecmo's Deception thing where it's like you just fell into traps and like you were done and
Oh,
like rinse and repeat. And although in Tecmo's Deception, at least you get to set the traps, I guess. But
yep.
yeah, I have distinct memories of playing the first one and being like utterly confused by it. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Like the franchise really hung in there for a long time, and then it just kind of killed it around the 360 PS3 generation with some bad games. And I wouldn't say this is bad. I wouldn't say I loved it. Like I'm not gonna call this good by any means, but like it's a pretty novel approximation to like what you think 3D survival horror would be in the era. Because like when this came out, like that would have been peak tank control. Like we're just getting through that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
And I didn't play those either. Like the 360 or no, I think there's a Dreamcast one
Hmm.
of this. I don't know
I
if the
think you're right.
PS1 was this one or if it was a separate one. I
Nah,
don't know.
PS1 was pretty archaic, like the first one. I know there were sequels, but
Yeah. And then, there's that Wii one that also is technically impressive, but also plays like garbage.
right. I think I have that one on 360.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know what the deal was. There was like an issue with that pressing, and like some of them just don't work. in certain consoles. Like mine has never worked in
Amazing.
any 360 I owned. And maybe it never will, but like I think I bought it on clearance for like $5, so I wasn't too upset. Well, excuse the coughing. What do you think you give this thing on the Byron Burn scale then?
This is tough. I think it's unplayable, but
It's
I
pretty
think
close.
I think it's a rent because I think you need to play the first 10 minutes of this game to be like just it's play it as a tech demo
Yeah.
and be like, wow, this somebody could have made a this game and actually playable, which I would have blown my mind. I don't think it would have been possible before I played this.
Yeah. Considering the
But
hardware.
yeah, I would say just check it out in that as a curiosity because
Yeah.
it's but as a game, I'm gonna rent it, but it probably as a game it should be a burn. But
Yeah, I'm gonna give it rent too. And I think most of that is on the merits, again, like you said, of like this shouldn't exist in the way that it is functional on here. I I didn't outright hate it. Like I wouldn't say I'd say it's necessarily a bad game. I'd say it's a deeply flawed game, but I put like 2.5 hours into it. I just finally got to the point where I was like sick of like, all right, let's rerun every possible angle here to find some wall I didn't brush into, and like that's where it stopped being fun. Like
yeah,
if they could
and
have like narrowed that in and made it a little more like it could have been ultra linear, and I wouldn't have cared. Like as long as I felt like I could progress without being hung up.
exactly. The part that really lost me was hallways that had many doors, and then then they switched the angles, and it was really tough to figure
Yes.
out where I was even at in the hallway, what I've checked.
Which again, an interior building map would have just solved that. But
Hmm. Yep.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you though. I don't think this is making a lot of people's best ofs, but it is a kind of a technical masterpiece. So
It's one of the few that was like a head scratcher when they said it was on the Switch, but I'm like, oh, sure, pop in. It's one of those games like, yeah, pop in there and see it.
yeah, for sure. Did you see they added the Donkey Kong 1 and 2 for Game Boy now?
And 3 tonight.
Oh, is 3 got added? Okay. Yeah, I've been playing through the first one because I never played any of those. And like, again, you play those and you're like, well, these kind of suck. But also, I can't believe this is running on the Game Boy
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
it's a pretty good approximation.
yep. I mean, yeah, they're kind of Donkey Kong Country on the Game Boy.
Yeah,
Kind of crazy.
which is insane. It's insane the Donkey Kong Country ran in the Super Nintendo, let alone the Game Boy.
Yep, yep.
Well, I suppose it's another one in the books, huh?
That's another one. Uh, yeah, you can email us. Weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. We'd like to hear you. Um, watch Jack Frost and with a cold root beer, 1919 root beer.
Yes. And be watching for us on Blue Sky. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but like believe me, I've been seeing the dozens and dozens of people leaving on both of my accounts on Twitter, and yeah, I need to get that set up because clearly everyone's jumping ship. So,
It's kind of where it's going. Yeah.
not that we won't post on Twitter too, but probably not where the future's headed.
uh, just so happens links probably aren't really that valuable on Twitter as a marketing device in the first place, but that's a different discussion. But yeah, I think we got one more until Christmas, right?
Yeah, we got another one coming out. That's right. With another horror game, I think, because like I like how we just
Perfect.
doubled down on the horror for
Yep.
December. Yeah,
Well, we only get to do 2 in October. That's not enough time. So
right. That's true.
it's got to bleed out a little bit. Um, yeah. And yeah, of course, Jack Frost is our pick on the Geekade Patreon. So if you want to hear us talk about that movie, about a murderous snowman, if you don't want to hear that one, I don't know what else we got for you.
What's wrong
But
with you?
yeah. But until next time, be kind, rewind.
Bananas.
Are a snowman's enemy